We all make them. What's important is what you do after. We'll talk about how to handle mistakes and setbacks in this episode. Hi, I'm Rick Kendall.
And I'm Fred Ball.
Welcome to Management Mastery. The purpose of these podcasts is to share what each of us has learned about good and bad management in our combined over 40 years of experience, both as managers and executive coaches. During that time, we've coached managers at every level in companies from Fortune 100s to brand new startups in all major businesses, including nonprofits, government, and education. So whether you're just starting in your first management position or are an experienced manager looking to strengthen your management skills, we know our podcast will be valuable to you. Every job has bumps, especially early on. Making a mistake will cause you to stress and make you wonder, what could I have done differently? What happened is often less important than how you deal with it or plan to. In skiing, for example, they say if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning anything. And many companies have that philosophy. So it's important to understand that, part of learning is making mistakes.
That's exactly right. And as you go forward in this, there's some issues that you're going to face. I mean, none of us like to make mistakes. And what it can do is it can add stress, and it can make you nervous. So what you want to do is you want to not panic. You want to believe in yourself. Remember, this boss hired you. If the boss is ultimately going to be involved, they want to see you successful. Your people want to see you're successful as well. So you got to believe in yourself. You got to embrace change, and you have to be flexible. And during this time, you want to focus on career successes that you've had. Think about the skills and abilities that you demonstrated, and you may need to bring those skills and abilities in as you correct whatever the situation is. And if you have not experienced too many tough times, understand that this is part of life. The next thing you want to do is you need to trust your emotions. Too often, thoughts are negative. Think about that. How often, when something comes up, the thing that we run to first is the negative side before we get to the positive. So you want to replace any negative thoughts with positive thoughts as soon as you possibly can. And be optimistic that the situation is temporary and positive change will occur. And obviously you have to be involved in making that positive change occur.
Not only that, Fred, but the other thing that's important, not just getting a grip on your own emotions and reaction, but turn to your colleagues, and relationships are so important in dealing with these kinds of situations because your colleagues can give you information about how your boss might respond to things, what other people have done. They give you perspective on your situation. And so you want to share your experiences with trusted colleagues. And this comes to, we've talked about the importance of having a network. This is where your network can be really important because it can give you all sorts of information about how people see this kind of situation. And the more connections you've got, the more information you can get, and the more support you can get from different people. I had a client who was new in a department, and they were in a meeting with a group of people and the department head, and suddenly the department head started acting very strangely, very aggressive, just moody, not in a good mood. And my client was totally taken aback. And when they came out of the meeting, they asked a colleague, what was all that about? And the colleague said, oh, well, the boss is hypoglycemic, which means they're very sensitive to low blood sugar. And if their blood sugar drops, they become very moody. And the thing to do when that happens is to get up and get them a soda or a piece of fruit or whatever you can find to help them get their blood sugar back up again. The good news, they're aware of it, and so addressing it in the meeting is not embarrassing and is appreciated. So relying on your coworkers for information and advice is a very good way to avoid mistakes and also learn how to cope with them when you make them.
When I've coached people who have made a mistake, and especially when they're younger and haven't been as long in the management ranks, there's a tendency to get to receive stress, to feel, oh, I could have done something different. What could I have done differently, and so forth. And what I need to talk to them about is, look, one of the things that a manager needs to be able to do is to absorb stress, keep your critical functioning, and understand that this is a part of life, that there are going to be mistakes, and you know that there will be both successes and setbacks. We also talk about nurturing yourself during that period of time, getting enough exercise and sleep as well. So the other thing is that we will often talk in coaching situations that as a manager, you are not going to be perfect. And clearly, mistakes are a part of that.
Well, and I think the other part is that if you overreact, it can immobilize you. You will be so afraid to make another mistake that you won't be able to make decisions. You won't be able to take acceptable risks. It just can paralyze you if you let the emotions get out of hand. Just a quick break in the program to remind you that in addition to this podcast, we offer a range of services not only to new and existing managers, but also to professionals looking to change jobs, build an effective network, or manage a range of career transition points. Our services range from online courses to one-on-one coaching and corporate programs for groups of managers. For more information, go to careercoachclass.com or email us at fred@mycareercoach.me.
Let's move to specific actions to handle a mistake or a setback.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first thing you need to do, obviously, is figure out what went wrong, what happened, and then get a sense of the scope of the problem, and most importantly, work out in your own mind a possible solution to avoid the problem in the future. And you want to do that before you talk to anybody. So you're prepared to say, here's what happened and here's what I plan to do about it. And the other part is to be proactive. I had a client, again, who made a stupid comment in a staff meeting that offended one of their staff people, legitimately offended them. And when the staff person complained to my client, the client was proactive and immediately apologized, saw the nature of the mistake, realized that they had crossed a line they shouldn't have, and offered to the offended staff person that they would apologize to the staff person in front of the entire group where they had made the stupid comment. And fortunately, the staffer said that wasn't necessary. But the other thing this client did was, realizing the potential for this to spin out of control, went immediately to the HR department and talked to a counselor there and said, this is the stupid thing I did, and was assured that that was okay. But that sort of both helped their own emotions and also made it clear that they were aware of the problem, that they were taking steps to ameliorate the problem, and get ahead of it. So that's what you want to do. And this is just something where it might not have even gone beyond their department, let alone to this client's boss.
Yeah, Rick, in the example that he just gave you, gave you an example of what could happen within your team. Then what happens is that there may become a mistake or a setback that rises above that to your boss's level, which would probably be a somewhat larger problem. And then you need to be able to think through, just as Rick talked about, figure out what went wrong, evaluate the cause of the problem, analyze the problem, and gather data. But then, as soon as practicable, you need to inform your boss. So when you do that, you need to go in and own up to the mistake. You have to accept the responsibility that it was in your area, and so you're responsible. You don't want to be defensive. You may need to, depending upon the situation, offer a genuine and humble apology to your boss, client, or aggrieved person if that's appropriate. And one of the things that you have to keep in mind is one of the things over and over, we talk so many words during the course of a day, just as Rick gave the example before of something that that his client would love not to have said. Most of the time, it's words that we issue back and forth that get us into trouble. And so you have to be prepared to make an apology to someone if, in fact, that happens.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, people really appreciate when you just immediately say, "My bad. I'm really sorry." It goes a long way, or just to own up to the mistake.
Then what you want to do is you want to tell your boss the plan that you have been studying to rectify the situation and arrive at an acceptable conclusion. And what you want to do is get the boss's advice. Most of the time they'll give it to you anyway, but if they don't, then ask the boss if they have any suggestion as to any change in the plan that you've identified. As Rick said, you go back to your network and you connect with any colleagues who may have had the same problem. Let's say, for example, it's a particularly difficult client, and someone who is at your level but in a different area deals with that same client. They may be very able to give you some help in how to deal with that client, and what it is particularly that are the client's hot buttons.
Right. And I think a watchword here in all of these situations is don't be defensive. When you present your suggested plan to your boss, the boss may not like it. The boss may say, no, I think you should do X, Y, or Z. Don't be defensive. Be open. The important thing is that you're showing the boss that you've thought it through and you plan to take steps to rectify it. And with the client, don't be defensive. They may jump down your throat, and you just have to sit there and go, you're right, I made a mistake.
Exactly. And you're going to need to stay on top of this. If it's a problem that reached your boss's level, then you're going to want to deal with it sooner rather than later. You're going to want to collect any additional data after meeting with the boss. You want to figure out what your plan is to rectify the problem, and you want to act. You want to enact your plan to get it moving to correct the situation, and then you need to watch to see whether or not it really is working. And if it's not, make any tweaks to it that you need to so that you can get the thing resolved. And not only get it resolved, but you want to learn along the way, what do I need to do so that this doesn't reoccur?
Right. So what we've been talking about is something that happens to all of us. many times. That is, we make mistakes, suffer setbacks in our career. And the most important thing we've said is manage your emotions. Don't freak out. It happens to everybody, and what's important is what you do afterwards. You want to take specific actions to handle the mistake or the setback. If it's smaller and within your department, take action to fix it. Deal with it immediately. If it rises to the boss's level or more, then you want to go to your boss, say what's happened, but be prepared before you do, so you've got a suggested plan, what I'm going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again and to fix the results of my mistake. And then put your plan into action so that it doesn't happen again, and keep your boss involved. We hope you have found this podcast useful, and we'll come back again for more management mastery. If you have any comments about this or any of our episodes, or would like to find out more about our other services, including one-on-one coaching and group seminars for managers, visit our website at careercoachclass.com. Thanks for listening.